as we know, for the last 2 weeks, Iran and Israel have been at it, sending drones and missiles at each other, with Israel seriously destroying a lot of military infrastructure and their air defense systems, trying to win the skies. Then Iran hits a US embassy, sets Trump off, who in his words obliterates 3 nuclear facilities within Iran, which hasn't been confirmed, by the way. The BDA, the battle damage assessment, has not been confirmed. We said there was possibly 3 options, maybe more, for Iran after the US strikes. Option 1, sit back, do nothing, politically talk about it and come to some sort of ceasefire range. Wait it out and then possibly attack later on, wait for it all to calm down, or retaliate pretty quickly, which, as I said, was the most likely option, which is what they done. Yesterday, they attacked military sites in Qatar and Iraq. Luckily, no one was hurt, and apparently there was quite a bit of prior warning. Then it all comes out. Israel and Iran have come to some ceasefire deal. Trump announces it on his Truth Social. There is a ceasefire in place. And then approximately 2.5 hours later, this happens. This comes out in the news. Israel orders intense airstrikes on Tehran after ceasefire breach. Just 2.5 hours after a ceasefire. Was the ceasefire forced? Was it too early? Most probably. Only yesterday and this morning they were firing missiles at each other. The death toll was still rising, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it was announced there was a ceasefire. The thing is, these 2 missiles that were detected from Iran by Israeli defense systems were intercepted in the northern part of Israel, but I believe Iran are actually denying the breaking the ceasefire. So it's very, very interesting. Let's have a look. Israel has vowed to strike targets in the heart of Tehran after Iran violated a ceasefire agreement by launching a new missile attack. The Israeli military said 2 ballistic missiles were launched from Iran this morning, forcing civilians into bomb shelters once again as sirens rang out in northern Israel. Technology nowadays, you can, with counter-fire, detect where missiles and sort of artillery shells are launched from, if you didn't know. It comes after both sides said they had agreed to a ceasefire early this morning, which literally come out of nowhere. Israeli Prime Minister said a truce had been agreed after Israel succeeded in removing the dual immediate existential threat from Iran's nuclear and ballistic capabilities. I don't think this has actually been confirmed. Iran have not actually come out and said that their sort of nuclear enrichment facilities where they're trying to build the uranium have been completely destroyed. From what I've read and heard, they were deep underground, deeper than the English Channel is between England and France. Yes, the US did drop their bunker buster, but whether it has been completely obliterated is still to be confirmed. Donald Trump announced the phased ceasefire agreement on Monday night, declaring the war would officially end 24 hours after the truce, bringing the Middle East back from the brink after Tehran struck the US base in Qatar. Combatants in the Middle East have a long history of taking hostilities to the deadline, and Israel was reported to have launched one of its largest raids on Iran overnight. This is what's really strange. They attack US, Israel and Iran are still going at it, and then all of a sudden, boom, ceasefire. Just literally hours before, missiles were still being launched. So whether the ceasefire was actually in place, whether it was a bit forceful, whether Trump just announced it, who actually knows? But this is what we're going to try and figure out what's going on. So as of 9:56 this morning, Iran is on high alert as Israel vows to strike Tehran. And as we know, Israel do not mess about when they do retaliate. They will send a barrage of missiles and drones. So if it has actually happened, then I believe the retaliation is going to be quite intense and a lot larger than the 2 missiles that were obviously thrown at Israel. But this is where it gets out of hand, isn't it? You come to a ceasefire. 2 missiles have been launched by Iran, apparently. They were intercepted from what I've read. There is no casualties. So Israel now says that we're going to launch and retaliate with full force. Okay. And this is the vicious cycle that it goes in, because no one wants to be the one that just accepts it and steps back and goes, let's just call it there. We need to ceasefire. We need to put an end to this. Someone always wants the last move. Okay, they've got to be the person who fires or attacks an area or a target last. And that's what we're seeing here. What Israel could say is, oi, we've just detected 2 missiles from Iran. They have been intercepted in northern Israel. From what I've read, there have been no casualties. So we've had no casualties, no fatalities. Do that again, and we will engage full force. But no, they've intercepted 2 missiles, no casualties, no fatalities, and they're saying we're gonna, we're gonna hit you with full force. It's the vicious cycle. It's going to keep going round and round until someone actually has the balls to say, right, stop now. If you continue, we will then go at you. That's the issue we've got. So, but as you can see here, Iran denies launching the missile. Iran has denied reports that it fired missiles towards Israeli territory after a ceasefire took effect, calling such claims false and rejecting Israeli accusations of violating the US brokered truce. So they are saying the US has brokered this. Trump has got involved and he has brokered this. This is where it became very confusing, and you've got to read up on it, and we've got to wait for more information to come out because, like I said, technology is very good nowadays, and you can, with counter battery fires, you can detect with all the different radar systems where missiles, where artilleries and even mortars are being fired from if you've got them all set up in the correct place. So don't know, unless Israel generally just do not want a ceasefire and they want this war to carry on. Why are they lying of where these missiles were detected from and where they were intercepted? And Iran are denying it. So we've got to come to the truth somewhere, because Iran are denying it, but Israel is saying we've detected them. So that's the issue we've got there. You've got to figure that out. And then Israel have got to be sort of the bigger man here and say, look, okay, yeah, you fired the 2. It's your last warning. Fire any more, then we will retaliate full force. We're in a ceasefire now. When there's no casualties, no fatalities, I have to say, I think Israel, in my personal opinion, should step back here and be like, right, do that again, we will attack. And if they do it again, Israel, go on, go at it. But I think they should step back and say, oh, stop there. You're denying it. Okay, that's fine. Let's get to the bottom of this. Where did these 2 missiles come from? Let's carry on this ceasefire, because it's just going to tumble out of control. And if you look at the news at the minute, because of this ceasefire, oil prices had started to drop. I think they dropped $5 a barrel. So economically, we know some of the reasons, and especially with the US, why they're getting involved. All comes down to oil. But if we look at a few others, let's have a look at it. Let's see what's going on. Reuters here. Israel says Iran violates ceasefire announced by Trump, orders new strike. So Jerusalem, Washington, June 24. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said on Tuesday he had ordered the military to strike Tehran in response to what he said were missiles fired by Iran in a violation of a ceasefire announced hours earlier by US President Donald Trump. Iran denied violating the ceasefire. This is where you've got to come down to it. What actually happened? Have Iran actually fired them? Or, is there some sort of confusion of where they come from, who's fired them, etc, etc. So that's where we're currently at. There was a bit of news. I woke up, come to some ceasefire. So cool. Middle East may be starting to settle down. Hopefully we don't want it to sort of boil out of control. And then all of a sudden, boom, 2.5 hours later, I see news. Israelis going to strike Tehran with full force. Any act of aggression will be taken seriously. So the Middle East is very unstable at the minute, extremely unstable. And that's what we've got to deal with at the minute. And it's affecting everyone. Flights in the area cancelled last night. Oil prices are going up and down. So it's not just 2 countries going at it and destroying each other. It's the rest of the world that gets affected as well. People that just want to go home and see the families. People that just, struggling with the cost of living, just want to put a bit of fuel in their car. All of it has a knock-on effect. But because, 2 big swinging dicks at each other don't want to back down and say, oi, stop, you carry on, we will retaliate, but we're going to give you a chance. Because just one person fires a missile, they're like, we're going to retaliate with full force. Okay, you've attacked us, we're going to carry. And they just keep going at each other. You've got to stop. Someone just got to have the balls and say, right, let's stop this. Because at the end of the day, we're only killing ourselves here. Because a lot of Israeli and Iranian people are suffering. The ones higher up are not suffering, the ones down the bottom are. And it's affecting the rest of the world. But we've gone from a ceasefire, this is the news, this is a summary, we've gone from mass attacks yesterday to a ceasefire, back to mass attacks, all in the space of a few hours. This is how unstable it is at the minute. But thank you for watching. Please do comment below what your thoughts are. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you soon. Thanks for watching.